Have you ever stopped yourself from speaking? Not because you didn't know the answer, but because you were afraid of saying it wrong? Maybe you were in a meeting. Maybe at a coffee shop. Maybe talking to your child's teacher. The words were in your head. But something inside you said, "What if I make a mistake?" So you stayed quiet. If you are a non-native English speaker living in America, this feeling is probably very familiar. You might think, I need better English first. I should speak only when I'm sure. I don't want people to judge me. But here is something most people never tell you. In America, making mistakes is not a problem. Avoiding mistakes is. And this idea changes everything. Today, we're going to talk about why making mistakes is normal in America, why Americans are not afraid of being wrong, and why your mistakes, especially your language mistakes, are not holding you back the way you think they are. This is not an English lesson. This is not about grammar rules or perfect pronunciation. This is about how life actually works here. So take a deep breath. Slow down. And let's begin. Part 1. Why Americans are not afraid of being wrong. In many cultures, being wrong feels dangerous. You grow up learning that mistakes mean you didn't try hard enough. You weren't prepared. You embarrassed yourself. You disappointed someone. Mistakes feel like proof that you are not good enough. But in America, mistakes are seen very differently. Here, a mistake is often just information. It means, this didn't work. Let's try something else. Now we know more than before. From a young age, Americans are taught that trying matters more than being right. In school, students raise their hands even when they're unsure. Teachers often say things like, "That's an interesting thought. Good attempt." Let's explore that idea. The student is not punished for being wrong. They are rewarded for participating. Over time, this creates a very different mindset. People stop asking, "Am I right?" and start asking, "What happens if I try?" This mindset doesn't disappear after school. It follows Americans into adult life. At work, people speak up with unfinished ideas. In meetings, they interrupt, not to be rude, but because thinking out loud is normal. Someone might say, "I'm not sure if this makes sense, but..." And then they speak anyway. No apology, no shame, because being wrong is not seen as a personal failure. It's just part of the process. Now here's the important part for you. When you make a mistake in English, most Americans do not think, "This person is stupid. This person doesn't belong here." What they usually think is, "This person is trying. This person is communicating. This person is engaged." In fact, silence is often more confusing than mistakes. When you don't speak, people don't know what you think. They don't know if you agree, disagree, or understand. They don't know how to include you. But when you speak, even imperfectly, you become visible. And visibility is power. Many non-native speakers believe they must be perfect before they speak. But Americans don't wait for perfection. They move first, adjust later. They expect wrong words, wrong timing, wrong assumptions, and they don't panic when it happens. This is why you will see people in America change careers at 40, start businesses that fail, speak confidently even when they don't know everything. They are not fearless. They are just comfortable with being wrong. And this comfort is something you can learn, not by studying harder, not by memorizing more rules, but by understanding this simple truth. In America, mistakes are not the opposite of success. They are part of it. And once you truly accept that, the way you speak, work, and live here will slowly begin to change. Part 2. Mistakes in daily life. At stores, on the street, in conversations. For many non-native speakers, the hardest English moments are not in classrooms or meetings. They happen in very ordinary places, at a grocery store, at a coffee shop, on the street. In small conversations that seem simple, but feel stressful. You stand in line. You practice the sentence in your head. You repeat it silently again and again. And when it's finally your turn, your heart beats faster. What if I say it wrong? What if they don't understand me? What if people behind me get impatient? So you speak quickly. Your words come out tangled. Your grammar isn't perfect. Your accent is stronger than usual. And then something interesting happens. Most of the time, nothing bad happens at all. The cashier might ask you to repeat. They might rephrase your sentence. They might simply smile and move on. Because in America, daily life is full of small mistakes. And people are used to them. Americans mishear each other all the time. They forget words. They interrupt. They correct themselves in the middle of a sentence. Sorry, I meant Tuesday. No, wait, that's not what I was trying to say. Let me say that again. This is normal. But when you're a non-native speaker, you often judge yourself much more harshly than others do. You notice every mistake, every pause, every strange look. What you don't notice is this. Most Americans are focused on getting through their day, not on analyzing how you speak. They want to finish their shift, serve the next customer, catch their bus, go home on time. Your accent is not the main event. Even when a misunderstanding happens, it's rarely personal. Maybe you order the wrong drink. Maybe you get the wrong size. Maybe you walk the wrong direction after asking for help. These moments feel embarrassing, but they are incredibly common. And here's something important. Americans often respect effort more than accuracy. When they see someone trying to communicate, they usually slow down. They simplify their words. They meet you halfway. This is not pity. This is cooperation. In fact, many Americans appreciate these small interactions. They see diversity as part of daily life. Different accents, different speeds, different ways of speaking. Silence, on the other hand, can create distance. When you don't ask questions, people don't know you need help. When you don't speak, they may assume you're not interested. Mistakes, strangely, can build connection. A wrong word can lead to laughter. A misunderstanding can lead to clarification. A small, awkward moment can turn into a friendly exchange. Think about this. How many times have you remembered someone's kindness? After they helped you understand something? Those moments exist because you spoke, not because you were perfect. Living in America means navigating thousands of tiny interactions. You don't need to win them. You don't need to impress anyone. You just need to participate. And participation always comes with mistakes. Not because you're failing, but because you're living. Part 3. Mistakes at work. Why your accent and errors matter less than you think. For many non-native speakers, work is where the fear of making mistakes becomes the strongest. At work, mistakes feel expensive. They feel permanent. They feel like they could define how people see you. You might think, if I speak wrong, they will think I'm not professional. If my grammar is bad, they will doubt my skills. If my accent is strong, they won't take me seriously. So you do what many people do. You stay quiet in meetings. You avoid small talk. You write emails over and over, checking every sentence. You work twice as hard, but speak half as much. Here is the truth most people learn too late. In American workplaces, clarity and confidence matter more than perfect English. Most managers do not expect flawless language. They expect ideas, initiative, communication. An employee who speaks imperfectly but contributes is often valued more than someone who stays silent and correct. In meetings, Americans rarely speak in perfect sentences. They pause, they change direction, they interrupt themselves. I think what we should do is, actually wait, let me explain it another way. This is not seen as weakness. It's seen as thinking in real time. When you speak with an accent, people are usually not judging your intelligence. They are adjusting their listening. And there is a big difference. An accent means you learned another language. It means experience. It means effort. Many Americans know this. What creates problems at work is not making mistakes. It's being invisible. When people don't hear your voice, they don't know your value. They don't know your perspective. They don't know what you're capable of. This is how talented people get overlooked. Not because they aren't good enough, but because they aren't heard. Email mistakes feel especially stressful. You worry about tone. You worry about grammar. You worry about sounding rude or unclear. But here's something important. Most work emails are read quickly, sometimes carelessly, often while someone is distracted. People look for the main point, the action needed, the deadline. Small grammar mistakes rarely matter. A confusing message matters more than an imperfect one. It's better to be simple than impressive, clear than elegant, direct than silent. In American work culture, communication is a skill, not a test. You are allowed to clarify. You are allowed to correct yourself. You are allowed to say, "Let me explain that better." Mistakes at work don't mean you don't belong. They mean you're participating in a system that values progress over perfection. And when you allow yourself to be human, your work, your voice, and your confidence begin to grow together. Part 4. School, training, and feedback culture in America. For many non-native learners, feedback feels uncomfortable. It can sound like criticism. It can feel personal. Sometimes, it feels like someone is pointing out your weakness. In some cultures, feedback is indirect. People avoid saying things clearly. They worry about hurting feelings or causing embarrassment. But in America, feedback works differently. Here, feedback is often direct, not because people are rude, but because clarity is valued. From school to the workplace, Americans grow up hearing comments like, "This part is good. This part needs work. Try this instead." And it happens in front of others. In classrooms, students give wrong answers out loud. Teachers respond immediately. No shame, no silence. The goal is not to protect pride. The goal is to improve understanding. Training programs work the same way. When someone corrects you, they are usually not judging you as a person. They are helping you move faster. This is a key difference that many non-native speakers misunderstand. They hear feedback and think, "I failed? They don't like me. I'm not good enough." But Americans often think, "This is how we get better." Feedback is seen as a tool, not a punishment. Even children are taught this early. They are encouraged to try, fail, and try again. Mistakes are expected. Questions are welcomed. This creates a culture where learning feels active, not passive. You don't wait until you're ready. You become ready by doing. This mindset carries into adult education and job training. People ask questions in the middle of lessons. They interrupt. They challenge ideas, not to be disrespectful, but to understand more clearly. If you stay quiet, people may assume you're confused or disengaged. Speaking up, even imperfectly, shows involvement. It shows responsibility for your own learning. This is why feedback in America can feel intense at first. But once you understand it, it becomes freeing. You no longer have to guess what people think. You don't have to read between the lines. Mistakes are corrected quickly. Then everyone moves on. No one keeps a mental list of your errors. They remember your progress. When you stop taking feedback personally, you start learning faster. And when you allow yourself to make mistakes in front of others, you become part of the learning environment, not just an observer. Part 5. Language learning. Why perfect English is not the goal. Many non-native learners believe something that quietly holds them back. I will speak when my English is good enough. This idea sounds reasonable. It sounds responsible. But in real life, it creates a trap. Because good enough never arrives. There is always another rule, another accent to copy, another mistake to fix. So people wait. And while they wait, others move forward. In America, perfect English is not the goal. Being understood is. Most Americans do not speak in textbook English. They use shortcuts. They break rules. They mix slang with incomplete sentences. I was like, it just didn't work. This is normal. Language here is a tool, not a performance. What matters is, can people follow your idea? Can they respond? Can the conversation continue? If the answer is yes, your English is already working. Many learners focus too much on accuracy and not enough on flow. They stop in the middle of sentences. They correct themselves again and again. They lose their message. Ironically, this makes communication harder, not better. Fluent speakers make mistakes all the time. They just don't stop for them. They keep going. And this is what makes them sound confident. Confidence in English does not come from knowing everything. It comes from being willing to move forward imperfectly. In American culture, people expect language to be flexible. If you don't know a word, you describe it. If you use the wrong tense, people adjust. If your sentence is unclear, they ask questions. This is cooperation, not judgment. Think about children learning English in America. They make mistakes constantly, but no one tells them to stop speaking. They are encouraged to talk more, not less. Adults often forget this. They think mistakes are embarrassing, but embarrassment is a social emotion, not a learning one. Learning requires exposure, repetition, correction, all of which involve mistakes. When you allow yourself to speak imperfectly, your brain adapts faster. You start recognizing patterns. You pick up rhythm. You learn what matters and what doesn't. Perfection slows you down. Participation speeds you up. This is why many immigrants who break English rules still succeed professionally and socially. They speak, they connect, they adjust. Language becomes something they use, not something they fear. And once language stops being a source of fear, it becomes a source of freedom. Part 6. The psychological shift. From fear to confidence. Fear does not disappear overnight. Even after years in America, many non-native speakers still feel it. The fear of sounding wrong, the fear of being judged, the fear of not belonging. But something changes when you stop fighting the fear and start understanding it. Fear is not a sign that you are weak. It is a sign that you care. You care about how you are seen. You care about your future. You care about doing things right. The problem is not fear itself. The problem is when fear controls your choices. When fear decides, when you speak, what you say, how visible you allow yourself to be. Over time, this creates a smaller life. Confidence does not come from eliminating fear. It comes from moving forward with fear present. In America, many confident people are not fearless. They are just familiar with discomfort. They have failed before. They have been misunderstood. They have said the wrong thing. And they survived. Each small mistake teaches the nervous system something important. This is uncomfortable, but it is not dangerous. Slowly, your body learns. Your heart still beats faster, but you speak anyway. Your voice may shake, but you finish the sentence. This is how confidence is built, not through motivation, not through positive thinking, but through repeated action. Every time you speak despite fear, you send yourself a message. I can handle this. This message changes how you see yourself. You stop seeing mistakes as proof of failure and start seeing them as proof of effort. You become less focused on how you sound and more focused on what you want to say. This shift is subtle but powerful. Your posture changes. Your eye contact improves. Your pauses feel more natural. People respond to this energy. They don't hear imperfect English. They hear presence. Confidence is not about sounding native. It's about sounding grounded. When you accept that mistakes are part of your growth, you stop trying to protect your ego and start building your voice. And that voice becomes stronger with every use. Part 7. Making mistakes as a quiet form of freedom. There is a moment many immigrants remember clearly. Not the day they arrived. Not the day they got a job. But the day they stopped apologizing for being imperfect. It often happens quietly. You say something wrong, and you don't rush to explain yourself. You make a mistake, and you don't shrink. You realize something important. Nothing bad happened. No one laughed. No one rejected you. Life continued. And in that moment, something loosens inside you. Mistakes stop feeling like threats and start feeling like movement. Freedom in America is often talked about loudly. Freedom of speech, freedom of choice, freedom of opportunity. But there is another kind of freedom that many people don't notice at first. The freedom to try without permission. The freedom to be unfinished. The freedom to be wrong and still belong. When you allow yourself to make mistakes, you stop performing a version of yourself. That feels safe but small. You begin to show up as you are, not fluent, not perfect, but present. This kind of freedom changes how you live. You raise your hand. You ask questions. You share opinions. You stop waiting to be ready. And slowly, your life expands. More conversations, more connections, more opportunities. Not because you eliminated mistakes, but because you stopped letting them control you. In America, growth often looks messy. People try things that don't work. They say things they later regret. They change direction. And this is not weakness. This is how people build lives here. When you understand this, mistakes stop being obstacles. They become signals that you are moving forward, that you are learning, that you are participating. And participation, not perfection, is what creates belonging. If you are listening to this, and you have been afraid to speak, afraid to make mistakes, afraid to take up space, you are not behind. You are human, and you are learning in a culture that values movement more than mastery. This channel is here for people like you, not to teach perfect English, but to help you think, feel, and live more confidently in America. If these stories help you slow down, breathe easier, and see yourself differently, consider staying with us. Subscribe if you want more conversations like this, more reflections, more quiet reminders that you don't have to be perfect to belong. Thank you for listening. And remember, your mistakes are not holding you back. They are showing you that you are finally moving forward.